Good evening. I'm going to call to order this meeting of the Wendell Town Board. Happy to have all of you here. This is a real special night for us tonight. I'm very excited about it. Been looking forward to it for a few weeks. First thing that we're going to do is Police Captain John Slaughter is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
The United States, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Our invocation tonight is from Pastor Sarah Smith of New Hope Missionary Baptist Church. If you could step right up here, ma'am. Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for being with us.
Yes. Let us pray. Dear Father, we come tonight thanking you, Lord, for this evening, that we come to this Wendell Board Commission meeting. God, we ask you to bless each one that's in attendance. God bless our mayor. God bless everyone, God, that's a part of Wendell. God, we just want to thank you because you are God. We want to thank you because you died on Calvary that we might have life and have it more abundantly. Father in heaven, we thank you for the light of Jesus Christ that come into this world and for the light he has brought into our life. Help us, God, to remain grateful and be your light in a world when it begins to get dark. All around us, God, we thank you and we bless you. We bless you, God, to bless our children, our young people, God, as they go through their sports. And God, we're so grateful tonight. We're so honored tonight. And God, we just ask you to bless the whole entire community. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Are there any adjustments of the agenda tonight? Gentlemen, you have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
All in favor? No one signed up for public comment tonight. Have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Madam Mayor, I have a motion. I'll make a comment before I make that motion.
All right.
Included in tonight's consent agenda, and I'll touch on it a little bit later, is a resolution from the Wendell Town Board of Commissioners supporting the replacement of the bridge over Buffalo Creek on Old Battle Bridge. That's the bridge by Hepzibah. Acknowledge Representative Jackson's in the room tonight. Representative Jackson helped give me some of the background on that. A constant fighter for Eastern Wake County, understood the background, was able to fill me in on what was going on there. And a testament to this board, I think we started working on this in January, but we now have the state of North Carolina looking to commit at least $500,000 to replacing that bridge, and we're still working with them on further commitments. With that, I would move we approve the consent agenda as written.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item number 4, recognition of the 7, 8-year-old and 9, 10-year-old baseball all-star teams as state champions. I think we're going to hear from Kelly Conley and maybe Jeff Black. Just Kelly, okay.
Short jokes right now. Okay. Madam Mayor and members of the board, it is a great honor to be here tonight. We appreciate the opportunity to speak to you guys, to recognize these two very special teams. Once again, this is nice to come here, and we've got Madam Mayor. She's been a commissioner for so many years, so it's nice to have you up there as the mayor for once on this spot. Thank you guys for having us again. I did want to say a couple of special thank yous to the parents. Parents, you kids, you guys need to thank your parents for everything they do. Both of these teams traveled away from Wendell. We've represented Wendell very well in Ashe County and Wilkes County. But thank your parents for everything they do for you guys. They are the reason you guys are here tonight. So make sure you thank your parents. Also, I'd like to say a special thank you to our coaches. We could not be out here each year, and I think it's an honor to come every year and speak to you guys, but there's no way we'd be here if we didn't have the great, fine coaches that we have in Wendell. So a special thank you to all you coaches. Also the players, you guys are awesome, and it was so much fun to get to spend the weekend with these guys. I went up there and watched them, and so that was a great honor to be up there to speak, to see these kids play, and both teams, the 9 and 10s and the 7 and 8s. So it was very great to see all of our Wendell teams and our Wendell fans and parents that showed up. Grandparents, aunts, uncles, everybody, they all showed up. So I also wanted to speak on behalf of the great honors that we have got 13 state championships now in Wendell. And I just think that's just a special honor that our little town of Wendell has got 13 boys baseball state championships. 2 of those teams are here tonight. And we had 3 girls state championships. So, I mean, that's 16 state championships right here in Wendell. So I just think that's just a great honor. I'm very proud of these guys, and we're just thankful, number one, that you guys fund us and support us in what we do. Also, Tar Heel League, if I can put a little plug into Tar Heel League Baseball, that's who we play under, that's our organization. They actually have scholarships, and 8 scholarships have come from Wendell kids that have played in our program. So parents, if you're listening, scholarships are there for you. So I hope that you take advantage of those. First team I want to recognize tonight is our 7 and 8 Wendell Blue All-Stars. We had 2 teams in our 7 and 8-year-old age group, and we also had 2 teams in our 9 and 10-year-old age group. And that's a testament to the fact that we have so much talent. And once again, that goes to you coaches as well. So we have talent in both of those age groups that we had enough to actually develop 2 teams. So, but our Wendell Blue All-Stars, the 7 and 8s, coach pitch, they started out with district play here in Wendell. We hosted this tournament at Carver Elementary Field. And I'm going to go through the scores, but I want you to listen to the scores very closely. We defeated Lewisburg 12-1. Garner Yancey, 12-1. Garner Hale, 7-0. They had 2 teams also. And then we played Garner Hale again and defeated them 11-2. That score, 42 runs for Wendell Blue to their 4 runs on the opposing side. I just thought that just spoke to the defense that these guys had. There's 11 kids out there, and every one of them played their heart out. So well done in the district play. So we played 4 games there, and then we moved on to states. In the states, we outscored our opponents 60-36. And keep in mind, coach pitch. Every coach is pitching to their kids, so you know the ball's gonna be put in play. So the defense is the name of the game here. We ended up playing Benson in the first round, beating them 10-3, playing Cleveland in the second game, beating them 14-11. East Chatham Blue, that was a squeaker. We squeaked that one out, 8-7, and we were even behind. That was a very, very tight ball game, and came from behind in the bottom of the 6th. I think there was 2 outs, 2 runners on. We tied it up with a ball that actually hit the second base, bounced up. We got lucky and scored 2 runs and dog pile on top of the home plate. I think it was Jared. Jared, were you laying under that? Okay. We had a dog pile on top, and that was ball game. When the umpire said safe, the whole crowd just jumped on top of Jared. So that was a really cool little game there. Our next game, we played Williamston. We would face them twice. We beat them 16-9, then turned around and played the championship game and won that one 12-6. So in all total, they scored 60 runs and allowing 36. Grand total for the 2 tournaments, 9-0 record, outscoring their opponents 102 runs to 40. We had 3 7-year-olds on this team that we hope that will be back and can try to repeat for next year. Those 3 7-year-olds, I did want to speak on behalf of them. Trent Baker, Jaden Morales, they held down the defense in the outfield. Not too many, I don't think any balls got past them too. And then also we had 1 7-year-old, Garrett Watkins, who placed the last tag of the game, the tournament, at catcher spot. So he did an excellent job. So we had 3 7-year-olds, so I did want to speak on behalf of them. At this point, I would like to go ahead and recognize these kids, and we're going to call your name out. I will ask the mayor if she will come and present you guys with a shirt, and if you'll stay up here afterwards, we're actually going to, we'll do some pictures and then,
Have a recess.
well, we're going to have the 9 and 10s will be next.
Then after that, we'll have a...
Yes, we'll have a recess to let our loud and crowded crowd out here. All right, our first one, Mr. Trent Baker. Trent, you can stay right up there. Stand up on the, yep. All right, Grayson Blaylock. Mason Brantley. Will Conley. Braden Driver. Jordan Fuentes. Jared Hagwood. Caleb Johnson. Jaden Morales. Garrett Watkins. And Michael Young. Head coaches, or head coach Brandon Johnson. Mike Conley. Adam Young. Matt Blaylock. And Jose Fuentes. This is your 7 and 8-year-old Coach Pitch state champions. Do you want to put this up?
Go around the side and then look it up forward.
Look at that nice sign that will be placed out there.
Y'all scrunch together like you like each other. Move in the middle. Real close. Real close. Closer. Closer. There you go. All right. Good job.
All right, our next team. Some of these guys on the 9 and 10-year-old team are repeaters. We've got 7 out of the 11 are repeaters. This is not their first rodeo. These guys have also won the 7 and 8 state championship in 2014. They started out with district play in Lewisburg, outscoring their opponents 60-7. There were 6 teams. They defeated Garner 19-0, Zebulon 13-0, Wendell White 14-4, and then had to play Wendell White again 14-3 in the championship game. It looks good that the only runs they gave up were to the other Wendell team, so I was very proud of this team. 60-7, that was pretty strong. Then they would go on to play for their state tournament. States was in Ashe County. 8 teams started out. They opened up with Hickory, defeating Hickory 7-5, Shelby 16-3, East Chatham Blue. That was another one. That middle game, that third game, was always a tough one, but for both Wendell teams, they squeaked that one out 7-6. Were behind the whole entire time, and then came back to lead them at 7-6 in the 5th inning, the bottom of the 5th, to hold them out and win that game 7-6. They would then go on to play Williamston and beat Williamston in a tight game, also 14-13 for the state championship. Their record was 8-0, outscoring their opponents 104-34. I'm a big numbers person, I apologize. Also, special recognition for home runs. Carson Dunn, he had 3. One in districts and then 2 in states, and he also got the honor after that. They wouldn't even pitch to him anymore, just put him on the base. So I thought that was pretty strong. It spoke highly of his batting skills. Also, John Tullison had a home run in states. And Speedy Gonzalez, L.J. Rush had 2 in the park home runs in states. They would also pitch six players, which I think shows their strength that they had on this team. Carson Brown, Sam Dutton, Connor Fitz, Harrison Glover, Cameron Royal, and John Tollison would pitch for this team, so that was good. They also, in district play, the coach's horn, or his son's horn, I should say, Connor Fitz actually pitched a no-hitter in the second game of the tournament. He actually struck out 8 out of the 9 batters. The only kid that actually put the ball in play got thrown out from right field. So he faced 9 batters and 8 of them were strikeouts. So I thought that was very special. I would now like to recognize the 9 and 10-year-old boys, Wendell Blue All-Stars. Give them their shirts. All right, Cameron Brown. Carson Dunn. Connor Fitz. Jonathan Montague. L.J. Rush. John Tollison, Ethan Kleinbell, Sam Dutton, Harrison Glover, Cameron Royal, and Hunter Smith. Head coach, Kenny Fitz. Don Brown. Bobby Dutton. And Robert Kleinbell. And this is our group shot of both the teams when the 9 and 10 boys came out and to support the 7 and 8s. Thank you for letting us come out here tonight. Thank you. And I'll have the shirts for the parents outside. Thank you.
That lady used to give us a bit sick. It felt
Put
like.
us in now.
I'm around 205, 210.
No, like, it's under my knee.
Yeah, well, it's you're good with that light. I haven't been actually.
All right, I'm calling this meeting back to order. Item number 5, Citizen Board Update by the Wendell Tree Board. Good evening, Mr. Palmer.
Well, good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, staff. You saw all those baseball caps. Well, I got one too.
Good.
And there's a little history. We'll get to that. Anyway, I'm here to represent the tree board. We're one of the smaller boards, probably least known boards in the town. But we do a lot of interesting things. So we'll go through here and talk about some of that. Philip is our liaison. It's not on the slide here. But it does a great job. He's been doing this now for probably 3 years, 4 years. Does a good job. Warren Boyette, which most of you probably know, is our chairman, and he's also a retired forester, so he spent close to 40 years in the woods and is very knowledgeable about trees. I have a degree in forestry, but I never really used the forestry side of it, but I can help on that part. Joy Hicks is a member. We also have Kenkisha Staten, and I think Bobby Honeycutt, you're here? Okay, Bobby's our newest person. And what do we do? So mainly what we do is provide education on trees. There's a lot of misinformation out there, so we try to help in that. And the way we get involved is usually someone from town staff says, hey, Philip, there's this tree on Joe Blow's property, and he's afraid it's going to fall on his house or whatever, that kind of thing. And so we normally get involved. Philip shows us the issues. We go out, we look at it. We make recommendations, and if I'm not wrong, we make recommendations just to the board, right? Right. We don't make them to the staff per se. And again, then we also manage the rest of the what we call the community forest on the right-of-ways and all that. Again, public education I talked about earlier. We have an Arbor Day in the end of March, and we go to 5 with the 4 schools and then to J. Ashley Square. So at each of these schools, we get with the oldest class, whether that be 5th graders or 7th graders, and we have about an hour or so presentation where we talk about trees, why trees are important. We play games, things like that, and we'll show you some pictures. We also do some guided trails through the track out camp and any time that the weather's nice, like in the fall or the spring. And Philip is very good about trying to get those on the board out on the highway so people can see them. And also we try to offer tree pruning. Everybody's heard of crepe murder. It's not a good thing, but anyway, we'll go into that later. This is just some of the pictures here that we do. Wendell Elementary. We also try to plant a tree that's representative of the space. If y'all are familiar, that's a pretty crowded lot, so we're not going to put any more oak trees out there. It's already got a bunch, so we put smaller trees like redbuds or dogwoods, things like that. Carver. Now Carver's got a lot of open space. In this case, we planted a smaller tree, but we've planted mainly oaks there because they have a lot of open space to cover. Wendell Middle. Again, plenty of room, and we normally plant oak trees, large trees there. And Lake Myra. And Lake Myra has probably got the biggest participation. They've got, golly, I don't know, they'll have 75, 80 kids, and they all want to go out and plant the tree. So we had to limit it to about 10, as you can imagine. But yeah, good participation from the schools. And then we just did one Arbor Day, and you may notice a few people in this picture here. This is one we did with the track out kids. And the flag there, the Tree City flag you've been seeing in the pictures, each year when we become a Tree City, which is this hat says, we get a nice flag to put out in the flagpole, and we're one of the, probably in the top 2 or 3 cities in the state as far as most continuous years of being a Tree City, USA. I mentioned the trail before. We lead these tree identifications, talk about invasive plants, invasive species, insects, whatever they bring up, depends on the criteria of the kids or the adults. And let's see, as far as tree-related issues, we don't really have an arborist per se that's part of our board, so we always got to recommend that if we feel like the tree is sick or something, that you really need to reach out to a professional and get their opinion. But we can probably get you very close to what the health of the tree is, give you a good idea. And I mentioned earlier crepe murder. So what Warren Boyette, he's the one in the blue there, we had a seminar this past winter, and we want to show people how to, we'd say, prune a crepe myrtle so you don't cut it off like a buzz cut. Let it grow out a little more. But we're trying to expand that and see if there's other prunings we can do, other seminars. We're always open to suggestions. And downtown, we had to replace, I think it was the hollies that were in those small vases, and now we have this Zelkova, which is doing pretty good. And on J. Ashley Square, we have this oak leaf holly, which we trimmed to look like a Christmas tree. And it's easier. It doesn't grow really, really big, so it's easier for the maintenance guys to take care of it. We mentioned earlier about try to give people an idea if something's wrong with their tree. When you see a lot of mushrooms, that's not a good thing, fungus here. Now, if you see a handful, it may not be that bad, but you never know. It's kind of a guessing game, but something like this, that's probably needs to have an arborist come in and do a core sample and find out if it's all rotten inside. Here's a dogwood at the square, and it just never took off for whatever reason. We had to remove that when it just wasn't growing and just didn't look very attractive. So, planning for the future. Now, this took a lot of time. Mainly Warren Boyette and Philip inventoried 1,100 plus trees on right-of-way and town property. When I say inventory, they literally looked at the tree, measured the tree at a certain height, guesstimated the height of the tree, and the species of the tree. So we have a very accurate database of what kind of trees we have. And some of this was through a grant from the Urban Forestry Council, and Philip has an app that he uses on his laptop. But this is very handy if someone says, well, you know, there's no trees over here. Well, sure enough, we can pull up the map and say, yeah, there's quite a few trees. Or you're right, maybe we need more dogwoods over there. And here is a picture of downtown Wendell, and it's kind of hard to see, but you're pretty much looking right down at Town Hall and Universal Chevrolet there, and that area. And if you go a little north, that first major road is Wendell Boulevard, and there's Thompson Field. You might could see that, and the playground at Wendell Elementary towards the top. But again, that's a pretty picture. I think for a town that's growing like this, we've done a good job of keeping that canopy. And in conclusion, like I mentioned earlier, we get the flag, we get the sign, we get hats. We've done this for 33 consecutive years, and there's only, like I said, 2 or 3 towns in North Carolina that's done it longer than we have. And it wouldn't be possible without the generous donations from the board. So we thank you for that, and we want you to keep the money coming. And that's all I have, unless you have some questions.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Palmer? Well, thank y'all very much.
Thank
I
you.
enjoy the Arbor Day things with the kids.
Well, we'll invite you again,
I'll be
all of you.
I'm going to drag some of these other guys. I think David Myrick went last
Yeah,
year.
you came to the one, I think, the track out kids went.
Yes,
Yeah.
at the community center park,
Okay.
at the park.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you for what y'all do. Item number 6, the introduction to proposed amendments to the UDO for the purpose of reestablishing a downtown retail overlay district. Mr. Bergmark?
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, members of the board. As stated, tonight we just wanted to bring up a potential text amendment, introduce this to you, and see if it's something that you'd be interested in having the town pursue further by having the planning board review and recommend it, and ultimately come back to you for a public hearing. Prior to the adoption of the UDO, the core of our downtown was subject to a downtown retail overlay district under the old zoning code. And the purpose of that was to preserve the core of our downtown commercial zoning district for primarily retail, personal services, and financial services, while promoting kind of a more efficient use of the space and helping enhance that business community we have downtown. The overlay district accomplished this by restricting certain uses outright, and also just limiting some to the upper story so that you preserve the downstairs for more your retail use that create more foot traffic and help benefit the other businesses. When the UDO was adopted, this overlay district wasn't carried over into the new code. And while we were in the middle of the recession, this omission from the UDO wasn't really a great concern. But now that things are really picking up, not having these rules in place can lead us a little vulnerable to certain businesses that, while any business can be good, some of them can really help our downtown and help the other businesses get the foot traffic they need, help get those, create the opportunity for mutual customers between different businesses. So some uses, and not to single those out, but I'm going to single those out, such as, for example, indoor storage. It doesn't really provide a benefit to other businesses in the downtown. And I'm talking about something where that's the sole use, not that a business can't have some storage as part of it, but just the entire business is just indoor storage. And so in general, in staff's opinion, this type of use might be something that we would want to discourage from the core. There could be other appropriate places throughout town for it to locate. So you have a copy of some proposed district standards. And again, the purpose tonight isn't to necessarily get your recommendation on that, but just to give you an idea of what we're looking at for a downtown retail overlay. You have that included as attachment A. And this includes kind of identifying the boundaries of the district and specifying which uses are allowed or prohibited and which ones are only allowed upstairs, as well as some amendments to Chapter 3 to address how to handle vehicle services and vehicle sales uses within the downtown. While we may not want small body shops or used car dealerships from establishing themselves in this downtown core, we also don't want to negatively impact larger businesses that are established and that have a stronger presence and a more stronger impact on our economy. So we've tried to address this by drafting language that would prohibit new standalone vehicle services, and which would require any new vehicle sales establishment to have a larger indoor showroom. So if you're going to have that type of use, make sure it's a prominent use in our downtown. And I did want to note that we do have some standards from years back that limit how much of the downtown overall can be used for a vehicle sales use. So what we're asking tonight, again, is just to bring this to your attention and see if this is something you'd be interested in having the town look at further by having the planning board review it at their next meeting. Be happy to take any questions you may have.
By storage, you mean that it's okay, certainly, for a business that's there to have storage for inventory? That's not
Right.
what you're talking about?
Correct.
Just want to make sure everybody understands that. Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Bergmark?
I do. This overlay district that we're considering, are we drafting it based off any other towns? Or are we making it up as we go? Where are we getting this idea?
Well, there are, and I didn't do any kind of large comparison since this is something that we had previously, but there are other downtown overlay districts. I don't know how their standards compare specifically to ours, but it's not unusual to try to give more of a retail focus in your downtown through some type of overlay. So we're not standalone. In terms of the language that you have before you, it's very similar, and when this comes back to you, I can include what the old standards were, but it's very similar to what we had previously. The boundary changed slightly just to include two businesses on 3rd Street, the accounting service and the business right next to it. Otherwise, the district boundary is exactly the same as it was previously. But like I said, I can do a comparison of that for you.
Yeah, I just think it might not be a bad idea to look at some of the other towns that are, has successfully created retail-based downtowns, kind of see what they're going off of, to include that in, what we're already thinking.
Certainly.
Anybody else have anything? Any comments? I'm happy to see us looking into this. I think it's important. I think that during the time that we weren't really growing and not much was happening, it was something that we could wait and see, but I do think that time's come, and I think it's time to look at it. So, I guess I need a consensus from y'all to send this to the planning board. What does everybody think?
So my understanding is the motion wouldn't have to be specific to what we've seen in these amendments, it's just to
No
investigate
motion
this idea.
required. No, and on
Correct.
this, no vote.
Just suggestion to send it on to the
We're
planning.
gonna send it. Does everybody agree with that? Okay.
Right.
So we'll send that on to the planning board and hear back from them.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Agenda item number 7, discussion and action directing the town clerk to certify the sufficiency of an annexation petition for property located within phases 3 and 4 of the Groves of Deerfield subdivision. Mr. Bergmark.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. So anytime we have an annexation petition for someone that wants to be brought into the corporate limits for the purpose generally of getting a public utility such as water and sewer, the first step, and this is kind of laid out by general statute, is to have the town board direct the clerk to certify the sufficiency of the petition, to make sure everything that needs to be included is included, and to make sure that the person who's submitting it is in fact the property owner and the only property owner, because sometimes you can have some complex situations. So that's what you have before you today. Lucius Jones is looking at moving forward with the next phase of Groves of Deerfield, which is I think approximately 58 units or lots, give or take. So he's taking that step and submitting this application before you, and we're simply asking you to take that step to direct the clerk to certify it.
All right. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Bergmark? So I need a motion to adopt the resolution directing the clerk to certify the sufficiency of the petition.
So moved.
All in favor? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item number 8, Harvest Festival 2016, request by the Wendell Chamber of Commerce to operate a beer garden at the town square. I believe this is going to be Ms. Piner. Okay.
Madam Mayor, members of the board, for the last 2 years, the Wendell Chamber of Commerce has operated a beer garden, and they have requested that to take place again this year. You have before you at your seats a map which lays that out in its position to the band stage, which is where it has been approved previously. To the best of my knowledge, no changes have been made as far as to the area. One of the things that we would ask, if this is approved in the past, the board has approved the beer garden with the understanding that the chamber would furnish a law enforcement officer with jurisdiction in the town of Wendell to be there on site. Typically, because of the demands that we have, the town of Wendell Police Department has during that time, we're even short-staffed and have to get like parades and that sort of thing, law enforcement from other areas. That is something that they have done, and it's been managed well, but we just will not have the staff ourselves to be able to man that. So again, no changes have been made from the request previously, and we would ask that that be included.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Piner?
Teresa, does the chamber, do they run that garden themselves, or do they get an outside vendor to run the beer garden?
Typically, it is that the chamber runs it themselves. It's my understanding that they would still, this year, be the one that would be in charge of that. It would fall under their purview, but Beer and Wine 101 may be assisting with that and actually handling the inside sales this year, but it would still fall under the chamber as them heading that up as far as any insurance, and the town would be approving the chamber as operating it, not Beer and Wine 101.
Are there there any other questions?
Make a motion to permit the beer garden to operate at 2016 Harvest Festival.
Do we need to include in the motion the requirement the chamber supply a law enforcement officer?
That would
Would you like that
assist
in the
us to
motion?
make sure that it is clear for them.
Okay, so can you amend your motion to include a law enforcement officer?
So moved.
Okay, so the motion is to permit the operation of a beer garden by the chamber at the 2016 Harvest Festival, with the expectation that the chamber will supply a law enforcement officer with jurisdiction in Wendell for that occasion.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, all in favor of that?
Uh,
All right, thank you. Item number 9, committee reports by town board members. The Technical Review Committee, Commissioner Carroll.
The last TRC committee meeting was canceled.
Okay. And Campo, I attended Campo. At the last Campo meeting, mostly it was just receiving a lot of information about TIP projects, LAP projects, various other planning updates that they were going through, the Wake County Transit Plan update, the Wake County Transit Interlocal Agreement. They were setting forth the parties and the scope of financial responsibilities and so forth each group would have, and some proposed rulemaking planning and area reform and stuff like that. It was informational mostly. There was also a presentation from the DOT about something new that they're going to do, where they're going to, at several ramps coming onto highways around Wake County that they have identified, signal lights are going to be added to stop you from merging, and they're going to be developed in such a way that it doesn't cause a backlog of traffic where cars are coming from, but it kind of eases people out onto roads. They showed us some places where this was happening already. I mean, this certainly doesn't relate to us right here, right now, but we all go to Raleigh, so you'll see it in the next bit, and I just thought it'd be interesting to let you know that this is something you're probably going to see in Raleigh. So we'll see how that works out. Item number 10, Commissioners' Reports. We'll start with Commissioner Joyner.
I just want to echo all the praise we had for our league teams. Obviously, that's an awesome experience to be that young and to be winning as much as they do. It also speaks to something else I mentioned at the beginning about investing in Wendell. We heard that during the budget process. We heard about how at the beginning of the year there was lots of things going on and things are always trying to get done. And this is where I'll highlight the other piece of it. When I was appointed to the board, each of us took different roles in what we were going to do, and I met with Manager Piner the day after I was appointed, and I said, give me the list of things that haven't been able to get done in the past 10 years here. What can't we get done? Where can we try to move? So I'm very excited about the consent agenda tonight. You know, I would really love to be able to include the real details in that resolution that talk about how DOT is going and finding money for us too. You know, that's a resolution that the House and the Senate have to read. That's why it was passed that way. I know it's a bridge. I know it might not mean a lot to a lot of people, but I know it means a lot to a whole lot of people. And I don't know, I would count tonight as a win for the young guys, in my opinion. You had the 8 and 9-year-olds win, you had the 9 and 10-year-olds win, you had the 28, 29, and 30-year-olds win with the bridge. And Madam Mayor was there.
31.
31. You know, so I enjoy seeing young people win. I think tonight we voted to increase the town and its size and development. We voted to fix a bridge that's been a problem for us, and we celebrated how our kids are winning on the baseball field. And if it gets better than that, I'm fine where I'm at.
Yeah, I agree. Commissioner Myrick?
Well, I just want to say, I seen the worm, and it looks really good. I was kind of skeptical at first, and but nonetheless, in the last 2 weeks, I've heard a lot of positive things about it. I told the mayor earlier, one of my neighbors already has a picture of her grandson and the worm framed in her house. So, and I've also heard a lot of negative things. So if I could just say one thing, and I know we don't have a big crowd, but this is the place, you know, twice a month to come. If you don't agree with something or you don't want to see it, this is the place to come and let your voice be heard. So anyway, the worm looks great. So that's all.
Commissioner Carroll?
Yeah, I would just like to also mention the three subjects that have been hit on by the other commissioners. One being the baseball teams, two being the bridge, and three being the worm. Like it or not, any of the three of those items are all recognition for Wendell, and things are moving and happening around here, and that's always a good thing. People are talking. As far as the mural goes, I've seen it on several social media sites, as well as websites and things of that nature. So it's getting recognition outside of Wendell, which is, in a way, putting us on the map even further. So that's exciting to me. And again, congratulations to the boys baseball teams. That's awesome. Positive recognition is always a good thing, and that's one avenue of approach that we seem to repeatedly get positive recognition as our boys baseball team. So congratulations to everybody involved, and I'm excited to be a part of the town and be able to say that, that we're on the winning team. So.
Madam Mayor, if I can
Go ahead.
admit it for my comments, there's only one person in the room I know of that has ties to the Associated Press. While I won't mention him formally, I appreciate our local media helping generate AP stories to get us carried all over the country.
Yes, thank you for that. Thank you. Those are very exciting. Real quickly, I can't not say that how proud I am of the baseball teams. And we had several teams that did really well. I went to some of the district games. It was really fun. There were tons of people from Wendell there. I highly recommend you go if you have a chance next year. I'm sure we'll be well represented again. It was a lot of fun. One thing I also want to mention is there's an unsung hero in this, and it's Kelly Conley. And she works tirelessly. She knows every one of those boys' names. She knows all of their quirks, their ins and outs, and she is a hard worker, and she's known them since the minute they played t-ball the very first time. And she's so gracious and always comes here and celebrates them and plays with them and has fun relationships with them and goofs off with them, and I just think it's really important, and I'm really proud of her. So I want to thank Kelly, and if you see her, thank her, because she works very hard for that. This past week, I spoke at the Raleigh-Wake County Home Builders Association about Wendell. They invited me to come and some other folks who were unable to attend, so I took advantage of the time and talked about Wendell the whole time. We have a PowerPoint the staff put together for me, and you know how I am. I added in some of my own comments and observations to go in with it. And it was really nice to talk about Wendell and celebrate Wendell and tell everybody all about it. We're kind of a little secret. But as a result of that, I have had two different development companies contact me, and we're starting to get together with them and see about their interest, and they're interested maybe in putting together some developments around Wendell. So that's always a good thing. It's always a good thing to get our name out there for others. I also attended the Wake County Mayor's meeting, and again, a lot of what I do is the Wendell cheerleader. Talked all about Wendell and how wonderful everything is, and that's always a fun evening. I enjoy it a lot. I attended the Harvest Festival meeting. We spoke about the Harvest Festival some tonight. Their chamber is working really hard, and they have a lot of great plans coming up for the Harvest Festival this year. Some new things. They always have new things and fun things, and I appreciate all their hard work, and I appreciate the staff, the town of Wendell staff. We work very hard on the Harvest Festival as well. It's one of those behind-the-scenes things, but I do appreciate their work on that. The last thing that I want to talk about, and just came up today, Wendell Elementary School teachers had a scavenger hunt in Wendell today, and I don't know how many of you know it. It was, I suppose, a team-building exercise, but it was all the teachers when they came back to school today, the administrative staff, the principal, assistant principal, and everyone, and they scattered all over town. And their instructions were to get signatures or check in on Facebook or tweet on Twitter or pick up a little piece of candy, I think, from the general store downtown. And they were all over Facebook, all over Twitter, all over town all day. They had to eat in a downtown restaurant. They had to get photographs or signatures of various town employees. They were all over all day, and it just I was watching it all on Facebook and kind of laughing and sharing some of their antics because it was really funny. and almost envious, because I thought, what a fun thing, I would love to do it, and then my doorbell rang, and I learned that I was one of the things they were supposed to get. So I had my picture taken, and I looked really great. So if you've seen that, I had just come out of the gym. So anyhow, but I was happy to participate. It was a lot of fun, and I just want to thank the school, and I assume it was Shane Barham and Angela Armstrong, for putting that together and creating something that bridged the schools and the businesses and the town so well. There were pictures in the fire station, the police station. There were several pictures with Garrett here, who's in our finance department, and I just think it was a really nice way for everybody to think about the fact that our schools are here. Sometimes we forget and take them for granted, and I like the idea of mixing those different entities together, so I really appreciate that. And if you didn't, take a look online. The pictures are really funny. They had to do all kinds of funny things. So I thought I would share that with you today. That being said, we are adjourned. I don't ever ask for a motion to adjourn. Probably should. I think y'all are supposed